Hi guys, Njeri Gekonyo here. I trust that you have been keeping well, and I trust that you have continued to keep in the spirit of being intentional, and that you are focusing on the 3 C's that we are looking at this year. That is chasing after what will build your marriage, looking out for chances to do that which you know is going to let your husband or your wife know that I care and I love you and I am looking forward to do that which reminds you that you have a special place in my heart. And we are making choices that will make our marriages continue to thrive, choices that are not going to create wedges in our marriages. So choice, chances, chasing after. And last week but one of us, we always take turns to throw challenges in the support group, and we have a WhatsApp group for the Titus to Overcoming Wives, and one of us challenged us to actually read a book. I actually threw in that challenge, and we decided to find a book from our shelves, because I know if you're married, you have a marriage book somewhere. You may not have bought it, but you may have had someone gift it to you. And the sad thing we realize is that we have wealth of information on marriages, and we actually do nothing about it. We just allow the books to gather dust on the shelf, and we continue to struggle in areas where if we just took time to read a chapter a day, we would have such great breakthrough. And I was reading from a book called The Highway Code of Marriage, and what we were doing is read a chapter only. You might not be a reader, but guess what? You can do a chapter a day. You can decide, I'm not going on to social media, Facebook, Instagram, and all those other things, WhatsApping. And we chose to actually invest that time in a book. So we were reading a chapter, and then we process and we internalize what we have read, and then we share on the WhatsApp group what we were taking home. And I was reading from a book called The Highway Code of Marriage. It's a very simple book, easy to read. It's just one of the best books. I recommend it for everyone. And I chose to read on communication, and the writer reminds us that communication, number one, is two-way. Communication is a tool for helping you be heard and for helping the other person be heard and listened to. It's a tool that allows someone to express their fears and their hopes. You know, it's a tool that allows people, a husband and a wife, to be vulnerable. It's usually supposed to be a tool that can be trusted. It's not supposed to be a tool that can cause a husband or a wife to feel unworthy or to feel like intimidated. And the writer went ahead to give a couple of blocks to communication, and I'll be sharing 3. And the first block to communication that she wrote about was formative years. And here the writer was trying to tell us that how we are brought up has a very big role to play in what kind of communicators we become. For example, some of us have grown up in an environment where for your mommy or your daddy to communicate something, they had to shout. Some of you have grown up in an environment where for communication to be complete, there was sarcasm and criticism in the communication. And therefore we know that formative years and the environment where one grows up has a big role to play in how we turn out. And it's just how we say as parents now, we know that for real, our children, it's monkey see, monkey do. So even as adults, it has been, sometimes we portray what we were brought up observing. But the writer goes to remind us that you and I have a choice. Just because your mother or my mother used to shout to communicate doesn't mean that I have to make the same choice. Just because your father was sarcastic in communicating doesn't mean that I also have to do that. There are behaviors that are learned and they can be unlearned, and you can relearn a new behavior. Therefore, the excuse of that's how I viewed communication growing up is no excuse at all. So remember, it doesn't matter what you saw growing up, you have a choice to make, a choice to be kind and a choice to communicate in a courteous way. The other block to communication is fear. Now here, fear comes in when one spouse is always facing rejection when they try to communicate something. And this happens when a wife or a husband has something they want to discuss, and what they receive from the other is rejection in the form of probably the person decides to walk away, or the person decides, I'm not ready to talk about this, and they will never be ready. That issue is left hanging. Or you have this spouse who decides every time there is a communication issue, they result to having an outburst of anger. and some become very critical. And therefore, what happens, this becomes a block to communication, because if, for example, I'm the one who has been facing all that, why do you think I will be motivated to go and bring up an issue? I may be very motivated to work on my marriage. I may be very intentional about wanting to deal with the issues in my marriage. But if what I have been facing is doing me more harm emotionally than good, then I will at one point decide, you know what, I'll just let it be. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want an explosion to happen, and let me just be. That is a very dangerous thing to have in your marriage. The third one is peace at any cost, and this of course is very related with fear, because this is whereby one spouse decides, you know what, for the sake of peace, I would rather sweep all these issues under the carpet. I don't want domains. I don't want issues. No. I don't want to, instead of putting up a fight, and not a fight where you're rude. The kind of people that take flight, they don't know how to confront issues. They would rather sweep everything under the carpet and put the carpet back. And so it looks all nice and calm. But let me tell you, when you are having that kind of attitude and you're choosing to maintain peace at all costs, one day it will become so much for you to bear, and your cup will run over. You will get to your boiling point, and it will be too much. There will be a volcano in that marriage, and you do not want that to happen. So if you're that kind of spouse who will not communicate because you are choosing and you think that it's better to have peace at any cost, you need to assess yourself and ask yourself, what can I do? What steps can I take to improve in the area of communication? So that's all I wanted to share for today, and I hope that as I shared, there's something you've picked, and I hope that you are going to implement doing that which is right. And remember to keep on being intentional in your marriage. Marriages are not easy, but they are the most beautiful relationships that we could ever have on the earth. They just need a lot of hard work. They just need to have two people who are willing to work it out. They just need two people who are willing to be mature enough to decide that we need to grow, and growth means we are no longer taking breast milk. It's now time for solids. So God bless you all. Enjoy your marriages. Do everything you can to rise above the area where you are struggling. Seek help, seek knowledge, invest in your marriages, chase after what is going to build your marriage. Next week, probably I'll be sharing the other challenge that we took up, because I know as I share, for those who are being very intentional in their marriages, they will also take it up and you will see results. Because guess what? When you sow, you reap. You sow oranges, you reap oranges. You sow pepper, you get pepper. The Lord bless you all, and much love.